2 flagrant acceptable incidents at checkpoints, and flagrant breaches of quarantine. Police are investigating 2 flagrant breaches of home quarantine measures and 2 unacceptable incidents at COVID checkpoints, as well as checkpoints on the border at the Federal Highway. Temporary checkpoints were set up at Commonwealth Avenue, Limestone Avenue, Lady Denman Drive and Clary Hermes Drive during the weekend. Police stopped 1,916 cars over the weekend, and said 4 people had been directed into quarantine, and a further 8 would follow up with ACT Health. Police are also conducting at-home checks of people who have come to the ACT from high-risk areas. ICT Police Detective Superintendent Rowan Smith said while compliance rates were high, police were investigating 2 flagrant breaches of home quarantine measures. No details of these incidents are available. They're slow-moving to unacceptable incidents at checkpoints. One woman, a 32-year-old from Taylor, appeared in court on Monday accused of failing to stop at a checkpoint, resisting a public official and dangerously passing police setting up the Clary Hermes Drive checkpoint. If you see red and blue flashing lights, you must slow down to 40 km/h to pass stationary or slow-moving emergency vehicles. This includes traffic near COVID-19 checkpoints, Detective Superintendent Smith said. Investigations were ongoing for another driver who failed to stop at the Lady Denman Drive checkpoint. Police said at least 2 drivers had been forced to turn around at the ACT-NSW border on the weekend. Detective Superintendent Smith said the RBT-style checkpoints would remain in place. ICT Policing's temporary road checkpoints show the community that we can be anywhere at any time. We'll continue to conduct random patrols. Meanwhile, ICTC and Rural Fire Service volunteers will remain in place for a week to help bolster police numbers carrying out COVID compliance checks for those in hotel quarantine, despite Greater Brisbane no longer being considered a virus hotspot. The crews had been brought in due to a rising number of people who were self-isolating at home in Canberra after returning to the ACT from a hotspot area. The relaxation of a lockdown in Greater Brisbane has meant 4,800 ACT residents who had been in isolation after visiting the city since January 2 will be allowed to leave quarantine. Prior to the Brisbane quarantine order being lifted, more than 7,500 people were in quarantine at home in the ACT. While the number of people in home quarantine has drastically reduced, 15 additional crews from the CNRFS will be on hand each day for the next week. As part of their roles, volunteers will be taking incoming mandatory phone calls from those in self-isolation, who have been directed through a text message to contact police, to make sure they are still in quarantine. Detective Superintendent Smith said the additional help for police doing the compliance checks will be a large boost. We've had a significant increase in the number of people in quarantine with increasing number of hotspots, he said. We anticipate we'll see the assistance of CNRFS crews for a while. At-home checks by police of those who return to the ACT from high-risk areas will continue to be carried out by police. With the help of CNRFS crews, more than 100 people in self-isolation can be contacted in an hour, while those conducting at-home checks can average up to 90 homes per day. ICT said Chief Officer Anthony Rame said the volunteer crews would be used for as long as they are required. We reassess the situation on an ongoing basis. At this stage we are locked in for the whole week, he said. The team is going well and I'm extremely proud of their contribution. While 15 volunteer crew members will assist police each day, the same 15 won't be used for each day they are required.